So what would you expect if you brought together director Renny, Harlin, and screenwriter Shane Black in a mid-90s action thriller? Well, let's find out where our expectations land as they lay upon us. The long kiss. Good night. Schoolteacher Samantha Kane has a loving family and rewarding life in a small New England town, and has suffered from amnesia for the last 8 years, unable to remember who she used to be. However, a violent head trauma begins to shake loose the pieces of her former identity, and dangerous enemies from her shady past begin to hunt her down. With precision skills servicing, it is ultimately revealed that Samantha Kane is Charlie Baltimore, a CIA assassin. Aided by Mitch Hennessy, a low-rent private eye, they chip away at the conspiracy that's rising up around them, headed up by the despicable Timothy and renegade government agents. As the hard-edged Charlie begins to assert herself over the wholesome Samantha, conflicts both internal and external come to a head with her and Hennessy. However, worse yet is when Charlie's daughter Caitlin is kidnapped, forcing her and Mitch to take more radical actions, both save her child and stop a domestic terrorism plot for wiping out countless lives. So The Long Kiss Goodnight arrived in cinemas on October 11th, 1996 from New Line Cinema, and was kind of a pivotal film in the careers of both Renny Harlin and Shane Black, because this did come a year after the absolute box office disaster that was Cutthroat Island, which was directed by Renny Harlin and starred his wife at the time, Geena Davis. And Shane Black was kinda in the similar situation there after he hit it big with his script for Lethal Weapon and had a few other things that went off really well over the next couple of years, but after he sold off his script for The Last Boy Scout for a very large sum of money and the film ended up being a box office bomb, and then working on Last Action Hero, which also didn't gross a profit whatsoever, really was kind of a time where both guys were not coming off of very hot pieces of work there, so really needed a hit to come through for themselves, and kind of a sad thing with this film that it ended up having about a $65 million budget and only grossed worldwide $89.5 million, so did not get them a hit, did not get New Line Cinema a hit where they're trying to do a little bit higher budget type of stuff at this point in time, and all their efforts at this moment in time really didn't perform as they expected them to, so really was kind of a bad type of time for all these people to kind of invest their time and energy and stuff like that into this film, where Black and Harlan are also producers on the movie, so they got an even bigger paycheck from a film that didn't perform as anyone really wanted it to. But interestingly, it's a film that did go over fairly well with everyone who really did see it, where reviews are fairly decent and whatnot, some stuff on the positive side, praising a lot of good things with the film, and various things with like the cinema score for the film. The audience ratings were pretty high, so people did enjoy this. It just didn't seem to really get the traction it needed to get that type of a profit going for it. And Renny Harlin kind of thought that maybe the marketing for the film wasn't very clear or concise, and Shane Black had this feeling that there were kind of cold feet going into the film about a female-led action film, and there are ideas that maybe they would have changed it out to be a male lead, and I feel so much that it's just such a thing that would have completely ruined this film, because so much of the strength of this movie is so much in the idea that it has there with a female-led action movie that does all the right things to kind of tap into that type of interesting dynamic that you have going on throughout the entire film here, that if you did make it a regular male lead where they're thinking like Stallone or Steven Seagal at the time, just because they're just known names, but everything they did with this concept, with the script Black put together, everything so much works towards the strengths of the idea, the concepts, everything that's set up in the whole film works towards the strength of so much what makes the film so damn good. And you got Shane Black here kind of injecting so much of his signature type of stuff, because the film starts out so well, as so fully entrenched in a Christmas atmosphere. It's so absolutely beautiful and warm and sweet and whatnot. Just like it has that feeling like you want it to be right in the middle of December watching this film, just having that feeling so early on in the film with the warm family dynamics, all this type of stuff. It feels almost like you're watching Home Alone or Christmas Story or something like that. So it's like this film so much gets such the vibe of Shane Black so very well to get that stamp there to say this is so much Shane Black, where he's always had a little bit of that type of stuff in stuff that he's really owned in the past, but this one just goes full bore into that feeling and just like starts off on the right note for the start of the concept here, where you have this lady, Sam Cain here, and this whole thing where she is this woman with the amnesia and just like getting introduced to the family that she has and the dynamics and the warm relationships, all these things she just cherishes so much to get fully into that character, and just like having it at Christmas just adds so much more of a concentrated type of feel to it all. Just taps into it so very well. I just love how that's executed and how so much of that comes out in the film. And you might think it's somewhat maybe self-serving in a certain way for the director to cast his own wife in the lead role of a film, but Geena Davis is absolutely exceptional in this whole film, because just starting out with her at the beginning of the film as Samantha Cain here, you get such an emotional quality with what she puts forth on the screen there, with all the little things that start going on with the trauma and the flashbacks, all these things are starting to disrupt her life, and try to see all these startling images from her past life and everything, just like the emotional resonance she gives to these moments and whatnot, just like it has such a power, it has such a genuine, heartbreaking quality to see her grapple with these emotions and have these moments with her family and everything, just embracing her kid and whatnot, just like all these beautiful type of things, just craft a character that immediately in the film you have such a strong connection to who she is, the sweetness she brings out on the film and everything, just have all these things build up and have the way the narrative kind of unfolds with all these memories, all these personality traits, all the sort of muscle memory she has from all the assassin type of training she had in her previous life and everything. All these little things just bring out different types of qualities of how she deals with it, how she reacts on it, all these different things. Just like it creates such an exploration of a complex makeup of her psychology and the different personalities she's going to have to grapple with, between going from Samantha over to Charlie, and all the different things that are going to develop for the character throughout the entire course of the narrative. You can't just plug any actress into this role to just play the veneer of it. You need someone who's going to grasp onto the nuance and the emotion and the relationships that she develops and just explores throughout the entire course of the film. And just Geena Davis struck me so strongly with what she did, being so committed to every little aspect of this character and seeing the full arc that she goes through on the entire film. It's an amazing piece of work, and really, that's just half the thing, because you got this whole thing where she is Samantha and trying to discover where her past is and everything, and dealing with all these type of things that are starting to come back into her memory, and then you finally get this other personality reasserting itself as Charlie. And she's absolutely positively convincing when she makes this turn in the film where she becomes this straight out fucking badass type of character with the platinum blonde hair and the done up makeup and all this type of stuff. And it's just still a type of thing where it's not just a flat two-dimensional change. You still see different aspects of the character. Even Samuel L. Jackson's character of Mitch kind of looks at this and sort of looks a little bit past the surface of it. And it's like, where you got this character who's all this sort of spitfire and this sort of vile type of personality and everything, and then looks at this school teacher that he came to know as Samantha Cain. It's like, where did this personality come from? And it's like, you just kind of maybe lost the ability to remember to hate yourself for a little while there. So it's very interesting. Just a little piece of dialogue like that adds into sort of an insight into the character, that maybe she was someone who had a self-loathing complex, and then why she is such almost a bitter type of person who really kind of pushes other people away and is such a indulgent type of personality here. It's such an interesting type of thing, and just how it progresses and develops and has this wonderful relationship with Mitch in the whole film that sort of brings things out of her and sort of discovers more about herself in general, and just like all the things that you start to see develop with this character through Geena Davis's performance, all the things she goes through, beginning to let go of that type of thing and see how she cares for Mitch and sees how she cares for her daughter Caitlin and everything. All these things sort of come together in a wonderful, beautiful amalgamation by the end of the film to see a fully realized character that has all the best traits of both personalities married into itself, and just like Geena Davis, just such an amazing piece of work in this film that you just absolutely love every second of it, from the sweet, wholesome type of woman she is beginning, to the straight out badass, to the much more well-rounded type of character she is by the end of the film. It's a wonderful type of performance that I think, again, so much for this film. If it had been a major box office success, would have done such a different tide turn from like Geena Davis in this type of action genre or whatnot, and certainly did a lot for everyone else if it had done that. But regardless, I think she does a fantastic piece of work and does all the action physicality stuff absolutely fantastic, like a pro, after doing a lot of training for Cutthroat Island with a lot of fight scenes and stunts like that. She was completely primed to do this type of film and just nail it out of the park in every single sense of the word. I just think she did an amazing piece of work that just could go on for all day long here. But we got some other wonderful pieces of casting in this whole thing with, of course, Samuel L. Jackson, who just, this is kind of like signature Sam Jackson type of performance, where you got, again, a writer who writes some really snappy, sharp dialogue that Jackson just absolutely loves doing that type of stuff, as he's worked with Tarantino a bunch of times, really grabs onto some really colorful type of strong type of dialogue that gives a lot of personality to the characters he's portraying and whatnot. It's like, Mitch is a nice character. He's got an endearing quality to him that, you see, he's kind of a down on his luck type of guy. He's kind of the low-rent private detective or whatnot in town. So it's like, after Sam's kind of gone off and worked with as many high-priced guys as she could, and pretty much didn't have much money left over by the end of this whole thing, and start working for this guy who kind of employs bums off the street to kind of rattle some other guys he's kind of investigating and whatnot, and kind of pulls scams here and there, and has kind of done everything wrong in his life and spent like 4 years in prison or whatnot. It's like, it's a wonderful type of character. You just see flaws and faults, all these different things that makes him just a relatable type of character you can really get engaged with, and seeing how he interacts with his family and whatnot, where he's kind of estranged from his wife and everything like that, and he's got this kid that he doesn't really get much time to really spend with and everything. So it's like, all these things just veer you right into the heart of this character to really get Sam Jackson just nailing a wonderful performance here that probably doesn't have as much of an arc as the other characters in the film or whatnot, but is totally the type of thing you're looking for, and just does a really solid piece of work to really kind of nail that chemistry with Geena Davis so beautifully in the film, and just have so many really good moments to really just have this character be such a rousing type of figure by the end of the film, where apparently the original test screening for the film had him die in the film, but because someone in the screening and whatnot pretty much said, you can't kill Sam Jackson, they went ahead and changed the ending, reshot things, and allowed Mitch to carry on and live through the sort of violent escapades of the film. Really made for a fantastic piece of work at the end of the film. And I really want to talk about Yvonne Zima here, because she portrays the daughter of Caitlin, and she is amazing in this film, because even working through a lisp or whatnot, she acts the living hell out of this performance here, because you just cannot be absolutely pulled to heartstrings end with this performance, what she does. It's so endearing, so heartwarming what she does. It's so vulnerable and so absolutely endearing with whatever she does in this film. It's so inspired. It's so good. Again, the script does so much good for it, but you get a wonderful young actress here to just nail apart with every sense of sentiment that you could possibly have. I absolutely was freaking blown away by what she did in every second of this film, to just absolutely pull you in and feel so much for every moment this character just drives forward in the whole thing. The relationship she builds with Geena Davis and the whole thing is absolutely just, can get you almost to tears in this whole film. It's just beautiful type of work overall. And apparently Shane Black did not forget about her, because he would cast her in roles in Iron Man 3 and The Nice Guys many years later. So remembered how good this girl was and brought her back to still star in a few little small roles in his films later on. So that's another mark of great stuff, and just like so much. It's so much of an amazing piece of work from her. And you got some other good things, like Brian Cox shows up a little bit in this film, does some really solid work, but not too much. A little bit of a small supporting role, but gets some great little lines in there as well. Get some nice stuff to work with here and there. And David Morse, who's a fantastic actor as well, really just nailing kind of a sleazy type of part as well. But the real smarmy, sleazy son of a bitch in this film is portrayed by Craig Bierko, who just perfect. Just pitch perfect in every little thing he does as this slimy piece of crap villain in the film who's just no redeeming factors whatsoever. Just like every expression he gives in the film just has that slight little, the smarminess to it, the little bit of arrogance, the little bit of ego and whatnot. You just see every little thing in his expressions, how he holds himself, how he just kind of lays back in a certain scene, he has got no qualms about doing anything horrible in this film. He's going to kill kids. He's going to blow up freaking towns. This guy just has no conscience whatsoever. And just like, the more the film progresses, the more heinous shit that he just kind of unfolds upon you, the more you just want to see this guy just get the absolute comeuppance that the film absolutely pays off for. It's like, it just turns himself into just the biggest son of a bitch bastard that you could possibly see, and just like, everything is just so perfect. Really, really good actors, committed to the roles. Renny Harlin doing a fantastic job working with all these actors to get all these moments woven out in the film. He does a wonderful, fantastic job. Fantastic. We'll talk a little bit of style with this film. Renny Harlin's always been a good director with a really strong cinematic visual hold of everything. And working with a really solid DP on this film with Guillermo Navarro, who ended up shooting Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn, Jackie Brown, and a whole bunch of Guillermo del Toro films after this. You're talking about a director with a really strong visual style, a cinematographer, really shoot sharp, slick type of action and create a very polished type of production overall. You've got a winning combination here overall, and just like so much with the action of this film is covered so beautifully, so strongly. It's just like every time the action just jumps in the film, you've got this injection of adrenaline just shot in the film right at that moment. Just like everything just jumps into it, just ramps up to another speed, and just like it's just so damn good at what Renny Harlin does with that type of stuff, and just fantastic, slick, sharp type of editing in this film. Just like Renny Harlin's got so much experience up to this point with so many good films like Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger and stuff like that. He's got a solid sense of where he goes and how to block all this action out and just have everything hit like a professional in this whole thing. Just an expert in nailing all this type of stuff with a good solid cinematographer, a great set of editors. Just like everything he's got going on in this whole thing with the action just hits off so much good stuff. Just like you've got some great gunplay in this whole thing, got some chase scenes, you got some great stuff just all over the place. Just like some fantastic bombast in this film. Just like stuff blows up and it looks absolutely fantastically glorious. Just like there's so much good stuff and just wrapped up with solid type of characters, a good, interesting, entertaining type of story that keeps you hooked into everything again, hooked you into the characters, gets you going on in the story and the narrative where things are going this whole thing. I think so much what he just nails with the action just works out so well, but it's like, it's a film that has a lot of good narrative going on for it, so it's not like there's so much action in the film that it goes into overload. It has such a good, solid sort of focused quality on the journey of the characters and where the narrative is going with all this stuff that develops with all this sort of CIA conspiracy type of stuff going on, where they're kind of working with the bad guys to kind of go off and sort of trick out the government with this whole type of sort of terrorist attack to kind of get their funding back because they've kind of lost all their traction and whatnot to get ahead of the terrorists. So it's like very interesting sort of early topical type of stuff for some people and whatnot, but it's like it has so many nice twists and turns along the way to get you injected in the whole thing and get you interested in and connect with the characters, care for the characters, that when things start going off the deep end with all this danger, all the peril, you feel so much for the characters. You just fear for their safety, and it's like, and you just have some wonderful type of stuff just being put together overall in this type of stuff. Along with a good score from Alan Silvestri in this film, just like, I was so impressed with the quality of what he was bringing into this whole thing, alongside some nice choices in R&B and blues music added into the film that gives it, again, it's sort of that warm, cozy type of feel to it. Just like, it just has a certain sense where you get all these type of things like Lady Marmalade and all these interesting sort of 70s or 60s whatnot R&B tunes kind of like injecting into the whole thing, and just like, it creates more personality and character and flavor for the film, while Alice Silvestri stuff picks up a lot of the general emotion in the film, all the rousing type of action, just like has all this little nuance going on in the whole film, just has really stirring cues in the whole thing, just like everything he did with the whole thing was just like a really strong piece of work and whatnot. It's like, after early in his career with Back to the Future and Predator and kind of Ricochet and stuff like that, was always kind of in the same vein of whatnot. By this time, he's kind of really broken out, really kind of gone to a much wider, broader type of thing, really encompass a much richer sound in a certain way. So it's like, I was so impressed after I've done so many things recently, talking about how his samey scores with like Predator 2 and whatnot. Hearing this type of work really impressed me, and just like, it's a really solid piece of work what he does here. While talking so much about the story in this film, that I feel like there are some things in the first act of the film, even though the whole film runs on such a beautifully lean, sharp type of pace, I do get a lot of things in the first act of the film that kind of gets the audience ahead of our main characters, where you get flashes to all the villains of the film, sort of things developing and getting more insight in the background of Charlie and whatnot, all these different things, where you got the character of Samantha Cain, also Mitch Hennessy, Jill's trying to figure things out. She's having all these traumatic flashes and trying to deal with all these personality traits that are coming out of her and all these different things that she doesn't quite understand what's going on with her, while the audience is getting a little bit ahead of the main characters, where I felt like it would have been really nice to have much more of a sustained type of thing, where we're fully entrenched in her story while things kind of adversely hit out of nowhere for her, and try to understand things as it goes along with her, carry along with the journey there. So this is the only really thing I really had towards the story of the film, because the rest of it, again, just hits up on a tight, lean pace all over the place, because once you just get into the whole thing where the action beats start happening, all these little things start developing, and all these beats start happening with the characters and the plot, all these different things, it unfolds on just the right pace, the right lean type of thing for a film that just hits 2 hours just perfectly. Again, the emotional resonance the film just builds up with these characters, that, again, you got so much of this film where it's like, being a female-led action film just adds so much to the elements that it developed for the film itself, because you've got this woman who, when she woke up with this amnesia, was 2 months pregnant, doesn't know who the father was, doesn't know where she came from, and ends up building this nice little family and whatnot, and just having all these interesting things with just dialogue or certain character interactions and whatnot, works so well because it is a female-led action film, that it has good ideas that feed into that type of setup. And it's like, if you did change that whole dynamic, like the studio was kind of getting, like I said, had maybe cold feet, and even Shane Black kind of second-guessing himself after the box office disappointment the film was, maybe would have marketed better with a male action star or whatnot, but you would have lost so much into it. Just like the entire relationship between the mother and the daughter here is so much the heart of this film. You get so many beautiful, just heart twisting moments in this whole film, just like the embraces they have, and just when you see Charlie, who's been introduced as this sort of hard-edged badass type of character, starts to soften. You start seeing the vulnerabilities, seeing her break down in a certain moment, just like these moments between the daughter and the mother, just like, they're just so absolutely fantastically emotionally beautiful. Something you just don't get enough in action films. At a moment like that, it develops so well and goes right into the climax of the film, where it just has just absolutely fantastic moments that just like, it got me choked up watching this type of stuff, because it was just so beautifully acted, wonderfully executed, so just richly written. The moments just speak so loudly and so deeply in the film, just like, It's so interesting, it's so fulfilling and satisfying to see that, where you got so many things today where you have all these studios, all these fans, all these film lovers wanting to get action films led by female stars and whatnot. You had this film so many years ago that did it wonderfully well, didn't get the box office it needed to, but absolutely fantastically just showed so much what you can do with that type of concept. And so much of this film, just like launching into the finale of this film, is a fantastically awesome set piece. It just crescendos everything great that this film just had going forward, because there's a film that just pays off everything. It sets up nice things and never forgets any of this stuff as it goes along, even throughout the entire course of the film or even in a single sequence. It uses everything that it sets up and pays it off so very well in such satisfying, inventive, intelligent type of ways. You just have so many moments and just like this entire climax going off where you got Charlie just hijacking this tanker truck, which is basically a bomb on wheels that's meant to blow up an entire town or whatnot, and having your kid locked in the toolbox in the back of the whole thing, just trying to get the entire thing out of town to save thousands of people or whatnot, and just like all these different things going off where this freaking bastard of a freaking villain in the film who ends up being revealed as the father of the daughter that she had, who doesn't give a shit because he's a sick son of a bitch. It's a wonderful type of thing where you just have these fucking moments where these characters clash to have these interactions, and they're just have this vile vitriol between them, and just have everything just pays off on the highest level possible, the biggest bombast you could possibly have, and gives all the crowd-pleasing type of qualities you could possibly have to bring all these characters in, have them charged to the rescue in certain points, have someone in the worst possible peril you could possibly imagine, where she's there with her daughter and these people who don't give a shit have all these automatic weapons firing from helicopters, and you get freaking Mitch charging in there and just saving the day and all these fantastic type of things. It's a wonderfully constructed climax of the film that just, again, the bombast fantastically, that even if you got some ropey CGI blue screen type of stuff in some of the moments in this climax, I like the fact that they blew the fucking bridge up practically. That it might have been a miniature, whatnot, a model, but the fucking blow up is fantastic. I was blown away. I absolutely fantastic was blown away by the volume, the sort of capacity this film had for just delivering crowd-pleasing type of action, because Renny just excelled at that type of stuff at this point in time. Wonderful type of stuff, just like everything just executed so well, just like you hit so many wonderful emotional peaks in this climax, and just like have all the stuff just give you everything you possibly have, just have the fucking bad guy just go off in the worst possible way and just have everything so fantastically. It's like, I can't imagine why when I saw this film just, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, that I didn't fucking love it, because I love it now. I picked up the Laserdisc months ago, and then I bought the freaking Blu-ray after I watched it. It's just like, this movie is just a wonderful piece of work that's like, I just love it. I just love what this film has to offer, because it gives me so much of a satisfying quality that I haven't gotten from a lot of films that I've seen. Just like, it just has so many interesting things, so many satisfying type of characters and dynamics, and just wonderful type of things that it gives you all the rides you could possibly have between the drama and the action, the emotion, everything like that. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. I just couldn't possibly imagine it not being something I absolutely love. That it's amazing that, again, Renny Harlin felt maybe the marketing for the film just wasn't very good, but I think the trailer for this film is absolutely fantastic type of stuff. It represents the film very, very well, and it's fantastically cut. So it's like, I don't know what it was in posters or TV spots or whatever it was at the time that just didn't grab audiences to come see this goddamn movie, but shame on you for not seeing it if you didn't, because it's a wonderful type of film. And do I need to say I need to recommend it? My thing is you guys chiming in with what you feel so much about this film, because I just can't go off and say anything more without going on in circles, but I'm so thoroughly satisfied with this movie. Just like, I can't say so much anymore about it, but regards to that, guys, Shane Black, Renny Harlin type of stuff, this is just a perfect combination that I wish we had gotten more after this, if this film had really gotten success. I would have loved to see these guys do something else down the line, because the perfect marriage. They just worked so much in sync with one another. The synergy was just perfect. Everything was great. I loved it. I absolutely do. So guys, enough with me going on and on and on, but that's just the thing. If you're looking for a really solid female-led action film, this has all the right qualities to take advantage of that type of thing. And I can't imagine that if they changed any of that shit, the film just would not be what it is. It would just not have any of the solid, deep down core qualities that I think makes it so special. So guys, thanks so much for watching this review and just supporting everything around here with your views, your likes, your comments, subscribes, all this type of stuff. Thanks so much, guys. See you around soon. Thumbs up on the video, all that wonderful stuff, sharing it around social media. I'll be back with more great stuff. So thanks much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.